Hello, this is Mike from Retro and Vintage Watches and Restorations Facebook group. Welcome back to another video. This video is all about what I use to clean my watches and the movement components within the watches as well if I'm trying to fix them or service them. What you can see in front of you here is an array of stuff that I use. Some of the stuff I don't use, but if you're starting out you might want to use. The first and most important thing to get hold of is an ultrasonic cleaner. This is a cheap Chinese one. I've actually done a video on this somewhere on my channel. It's a VGT 1000 and it cost me roughly 25 UK pounds. It wasn't a lot of money at all. It's got quite a big capacity within it, but you're usually only doing one watch at a time. Ample space, and you know, great for the money, put it that way, and it'll get you started. If you've not used an ultrasonic before, essentially what you have to do with these things is put some water in them or else they won't work properly. Comes with a basket. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I don't. I'll tell you the reason why in a second. I use this to put the water in. I don't like pouring it near the tap or anything like that. It's not plugged in at the moment, but it is, runs on electric. I don't know how much I trust some of these seals, so I'd rather pour it in and carefully pour it out. So it's just a quick tip if you were going to buy the same one. It has got a marker on the side, you won't be able to see it very well, somewhere here, for its maximum. But basically you just need, half full or a bit less. Certainly if you're putting some heavy items in, of course the water's going to come up. You don't want to overfill it, of course. If you were just wanting to clean your old grimy bracelets and clasps, I've got a couple of tips for you really. Warm water or hot water for a start. Always use that. Now if you were just going to use something around the house, dish liquid. I've got Fairy here, whatever is available to you or in your country. A few drops of that in some warm water. Put your bracelet back in the basket, put it in. You switch this thing on. It's got a timer on it. I always put it on to max, which I think from memory is 480 seconds. I'll do 2 or 3 cleans of that, maybe rinse it out. You find that the water goes pretty dark. It's amazing what it does shift. And then either repeat the process once or twice more, depending on how dirty I think it is. So another tip, if you're going to do a case or just a clasp or just something small, to save you keep emptying it out, filling it up, emptying it out, I tend to put a load of water in it, and then I put my cleaning fluid in a little plastic, this is a bit of a Tupperware box, just enough to fit in there. It's easier to fish the items back out again, discard the cleaner and put some new one in. Now that's the Fairy taken care of. I soon moved on from that and I bought some ultrasonic cleaner fluid, which is something I can get here in the UK. It's very cheap, and all that is really is a stronger version of detergent, so it does the job a little bit better, a little bit quicker. I only need 2 to 5% of the volume, which means I don't need a lot. You can see I've not used a lot and I've done loads with this. Now if you were going to do the movement, so if you were following along to my 6309 videos, the Seco video, and you wanted to progress to trying to clean some of those parts, a lot of watchmakers will tell you don't clean any watch movement parts in water, and they're quite possibly right. I have, and there's reasons for that. Usually the things I'm cleaning are 40 years old, they've got really dried on oil and things, and the other degreasers that you use, which we'll come to in a minute, tend not to shift it as quick. So I will use warm water and I will use this, but what I make sure I do is I dry the parts for at least 24 hours somewhere warm. Make sure you get all that moisture off them. You know, water and steel, it doesn't mix, it can rust. I've never had that problem, but then I do dry the parts properly. Me personally, I just do that because it just sort of quickens the process a little bit for when you come to the next part. So this is cigarette liquid lighter fuel. Most people start with this. It's cheap, it's good, it's a degreaser. Now, the way I would be cleaning parts in this is movement parts incidentally, so if I was going to clean some movement parts in this, I found some nice little shortcuts for you, and they are these little jam jars that you can buy from, well, you can buy them from your supermarket, or you can go to your hotel for breakfast and they're usually there. They've come in really handy. You can, you know, this stuff evaporates if you leave it uncovered. You can put it in this, screw the top down, put your parts in, make sure the water again is in the ultrasonic, put it in, switch it on, job done. Makes life a lot easier, it really does. And this stuff's pretty cheap as well anyway. Moving on from that, these are little baskets, and these are really important for some of your small components. So if you were going to, you know, clean some of the wheels within the movement, or the pallet fork, something that's really small, it can get lost in something like this. It could definitely get lost in there. So you want to keep some of the smaller components together for ease. You can buy these on eBay. They're not the cheapest of things. I think I was paying £4 or £5 each for one of these. But if you're going to do the job time and time again, it's money well spent. They just unscrew, and as you can see, you can put the parts in, screw them back up. You know they're perfectly safe in there. I've actually got 3 of these now, and you know, pretty good things. They also fit in the jars, which does help. Now, obviously everybody has their own way of doing this. If you spoke to a professional, he's got a proper machine. Obviously I'm only a hobbyist, so this is the cheap way to do it. I think is probably the only way I can say it. I soon moved on from this because I got recommended to use essence of retina. This isn't available in every country, I'm led to believe, but I buy this from my local watch supplier, well, the watch, you know, parts supplier. Now, this is, if you can see it there, it is designed for degreasing hairsprings, but I use it to degrease just about every part that I've got. And got this jar here, it's got R written on the top, which means it's got retina in it, and I will pop the parts in there, put them in here, no problem. Does a pretty good job. It evaporates really super quick, so when you take the parts out, what I've not put on display here is what else I use. So you don't want to be putting it on tissue paper or anything like that. You can buy watchmaker's paper, which is really cheap. They're like little 4-inch square pieces, and there's no lint and there's no fibres, nothing it would get, you know, tangled up with the parts, because it only takes a micro bit of dust to stop a movement. So I use the watchmaker's paper to quickly dry off, because they dry off very quickly in here. You could use a blower, or, you know, just put them on top of your heater or something like that. But it evaporates quick, but sometimes it can leave, certainly this stuff especially, can leave like a little white residue over the parts. And although it's degreased them and they're nice and clean, they might not look as nice as you want. And that's where this comes in. And this is alcohol. Again, you can buy this on eBay, it's extremely cheap, and I wash at the end all parts with this, with exception to the pallet fork and the balance. And the reason for that is that alcohol can eat the shellac on the impulse jewel on the balance, and it can also eat the shellac that's holding the pallet jewels in place. And you don't want that to happen, because then you've just scrapped two of the most important parts of your watch. Everything else is fine. Same principle, I just put them in there, quick cycling the ultrasonic, take them out. This does take a little bit longer to evaporate, but it does. And there you go, your parts are nice and clean. Essentially, that's all I use. I use it regular. I don't seem to have any problems with it. At the moment, I've got something on order which is dry cleaning fluid, because I'm led to believe that that is the king of degreasers. It's cheap. Everything's cheap. That's why I like to do it, I suppose. It's pretty harmful, like this stuff is. You know, you don't want to be breathing it in particularly. If you really want to be safety conscious, wear some gloves and put a little mask on to just protect you from the fumes. I do it in quite a well ventilated area, so I tend to think that I'm okay. So that's it. I hope you found this video interesting. If you do, like and subscribe. Don't forget to join the Facebook group, Retro and Vintage Watches and Restorations, and perhaps visit my website, which is myretrowatches.com, to see all the watches that I've restored or collected over the years. Thank you very much.